Hello, it's Dawn Michelle and welcome back to my channel. I don't really do Valentine's Day. We haven't really done Valentine's Day for a decade or more. I've been married a really long time, and that's not to say that I don't absolutely adore my husband, because I certainly do. But it's just not really a part of our love language. And the only reason I bring it up is because, this is the one day of the year where I like to try and spend a little time with the person that I showed the least amount of love, and that's myself. Because, out of all the people in the world, I am the absolute meanest to myself. I talk down to myself. I second guess everything I do, for the most part. If we're being perfectly honest, right? I have to make an effort to be loving towards self. I have to think about it. I have to set intention for it. I have to plan for it. I have to make space for it. So anyway, I thought we would take a little bit of a detour from all the usual stuff, all the usual videos and practices and processes and discussions and whatever else that I engage with in any given month. I'm gonna do a self-love reading, and this is not a collective reading. I am not a professional tarot reader. I don't read cards for others, so I'm gonna do a self-love reading for myself. And, if something in that resonates for you too, that's fantastic. And I definitely encourage you to run with that. However, I'm going to encourage you to take your own decks out and do a self-love reading for yourself. You can use the same decks I'm using if you have them, or just any deck you happen to have on hand. But let's just take a moment and let's make some space for ourselves, because I don't know about the rest of you, but I do a really good job, at least I think. I try to do a really good job of making space for other people, for holding space for other people. But when it comes to making space for myself, I completely suck at that. And that is a lot of what my tarot practice is me trying to create that space for myself. Because if I don't, I am on the back burner. I am at the bottom of the to-do list, and everything and everybody else will come first. So I thought we would just kind of get together and maybe just, hang out with me, and let's do a reading. I'm going to do mine. Maybe you can do yours. And then let's just kind of create a little bit of space for ourselves. I know it's a little bit different, and I know it's outside of my normal MO, but I just felt like this is something that I needed to do, and I thought I would share it in case anybody else is feeling in that same space of, yeah, I love my friends, I love my family, I love my significant other, I love all of these other people in my life, but do I love myself? And do I tell myself that I love myself? Because I don't. And I'm freaking mean to myself most days. So we're gonna take a moment. Let's hold some space for self, and I'm gonna go ahead and do my reading. I am going to encourage you to do your own, but of course, feel free to share in mine as well. So the decks that I have chosen are actually 3 decks that I've seen a lot of people use and talk about in relation to self-love and just being really nurturing and compassionate decks. And there are also 3 decks that I've just really been wanting to take some time to play with together. So I've selected these, which is totally outside of my sort of practice for this month. My practice for this month has been very about cosmic energy. And while this is an astrology deck, that's really not how I'm going to interact with it. As part of this self-love, I'm going to step out of my own bubble, and I'm going to make space for me to explore with something else today. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna just do this super intuitively, so I don't have a spread, although there are lots of beautiful self-love spreads out there on the internet, online. I always have trouble with this box. And I don't think I've used this deck yet. So we're gonna give it a shuffle, and it's absolutely beautiful. I know I've gone through it with my members. Maybe I've shuffled it, but I don't feel that I've used it. Look at the backs. I can't wait to edge this deck. Anyway, yeah. I forgot what I was saying, but that's okay. Again, Oh, I think I was talking about using decks or using spreads intuitively versus, no, I think I was talking about how there's lots of wonderful self-love spreads online. There certainly is. I know there's like Pinterest and Instagram and all of those kind of things. I've probably done a few myself. And I think, you know, that's wonderful when you have those dedicated spaces. What is with this deck? To my self-love moment is like encouraging me to just like let go of the perfection, because clearly this is not going to be a perfect video or a perfect moment. And I bet you I've just mixed in a bunch of reversed cards, but that's okay. We can flip them around. Anyway, oh my goodness, what was I saying? Let's have a little grace for self today. I do not have to be perfect. It's okay. Like, I'm not, that's just not really me. I'm a hot mess a lot of the time. Y'all just don't see that because I edit that stuff out. So this is what we're doing. I'm gonna give that one a shuffle, and then I've got here the, oh, what is this? The strange antlers, strange branches. It is it a French deck? I believe it's a French deck, but I think it should be fairly recognizable. It's also really big and really difficult for me to shuffle, but we're gonna try. And I have not used this one very much. This is not really working for me, so. Clearly, we're not doing like a whole ritual, get into the flow in the moment of things. Like, I'm literally just throwing cards on the table. And you know what? Sometimes that's okay. Like, sometimes it's okay to have fun with your tarot and giggle like a schoolgirl and talk about all the things that you love. And sometimes it's okay to just pull decks out and throw them on the table willy-nilly. There doesn't have to be rhyme or reason every time you pull out a deck. And there is also absolutely no shame in having and using a variety of decks as long as it works for you. Okay, I feel like that's as good as I'm gonna get with this big chunker of a deck. And then I have pulled out this moon deck, which is one of my favorites, and I have used this deck quite a bit. I often pair it with my ink witch, which is a lot of fun. But I did see, I think it was Annette, I'm almost positive, it was Annette at Project Refine Life who talked about using these 3 decks together, so I definitely want to give her props for this idea, because this was a little trio or deck family that she created. So anyway, back to the whole, I'm not going to use a spread. Back to the whole part of having love for self is just going with the flow and being in the moment of whatever feels right for you. So that's what I'm doing. I am very much a person who likes my plans and my processes, and I was just having a conversation with Marlena about how I'm very purpose driven, and everything I do needs to have a purpose and needs to have a plan and needs to have actionable steps. And part of reading intuitively for me is setting that aside. And that is a self-love act, because I'm allowing me to just be me in a way that feels in alignment with how I am in the moment. And I'm not trying to force myself to fit into a checkbox or to slide into a to-do list, or, you know, as part of a larger, grander process or purpose. Doing an intuitive reading like this, where I'm just gonna throw cards down on the table, is very much an act of self-love, because I'm allowing me to be me. So I think I'm feeling like this deck needs to be like my wrap up, my takeaway message. And so I'm gonna pull one of the Herbal astrology cards, I think here, just to kind of give me a focal point, just something to key into. So let's see. Something to key into is wealth. That's interesting. With Tulsi, I really need to now look this one up, and let's just be honest. It's okay to get into the guidebook, right? I get into my guidebooks all the time. This is card 19. So what does card 19 have to say to me? It does talk quite a bit about the plant here, which is lovely, and its use in Ayurvedic formulas and herbal medicine, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna skip right down to the guidance because that's really what I wanna know. So it says the Tulsi goddess sits proudly facing her beautiful peacock, symbolizing heaven on earth. She raises her arms with grace, aiming them like wands to catalyze magic and wealth. Oh, the fountain is centered between the goddess and the peacock. Maybe I should move it so we can see what we're looking at. Representing the wellspring created between earth, the manifest world, and heaven, the spirit world. Well, even when I'm trying not to do an as above, so below reading, it's just gonna happen. So peacock embodies the medicine of auspiciousness, magic, and beauty, reminding us that we are the living gateway to the greatest of mysteries. So it says, Tulsi is here today to teach that the key to Jupiter's doorway, abundance, and wisdom is to live, create, and communicate from a place of wonder, innocence, and impeccability. Mercury, rather than doubt and confusion. Don't be fooled by material possessions or the vanity often worshipped in the material world. Tune in to deeper realities that abound around you, be spontaneous, and celebrate your temple just as you are. I absolutely love that message because I've been struggling, and if you're in my membership, you've probably seen my readings and heard me talk about it. I've been struggling creatively, and a lot of what I've been doing this month is trying to just kind of relax into the flow of things. And so I feel like that's a really great message of like not getting caught up in what it is it's supposed to be and just letting it bloom and be, and kind of explore and communicate in a way that is in alignment with what's trying to come out. So let's pull some strange antlers and see what the strange antlers have to say. And I'm thinking I'm not going to need a ton of cards for this. I'm feeling like maybe two. The Hermit and the Eight of Cups. That is perfect. So it's okay for me to take the time I need to go within, to make that connection so that I can bring about those things that I want to create, not from a place of trying to produce, but from a place of trying to express. And that is something that I've been working on, well, really my whole life, but very predominantly here in the last few months. And I've got this Eight of Cups here, and I love this for like just reminding me that the feelings that I have around the work that I do and around who I am being tied up into that, it's okay to feel those and to move through those, but it's important to remember that I have to get past those too. Like I can't sit in this Eight of Cups moment, I have to move through it. So I'm trying to look at this through the lens of self-love, but really what this is telling me is like, it's okay to be in the space that you're in, to be in the feelings that you're in, to allow myself the time that I need to go through the processes that I need to go through in order to cultivate this sense of self-love, in order to bring about the things that I'm trying to express and to create, which is tied in to how I see myself and who I feel like I am. So I think it's really interesting because it does kind of serve as a dual message for me. And honestly, most of my readings do. I can usually take a reading and I can apply it to many different areas of my life because nothing in my life is an island. It's all interconnected. And so while this may be an expression of self-love, it's also an expression of my creativity. It's also a reflection of my struggles. It's also a path forward to heal from those. And acknowledging that is a big part of self-love for me. Just acknowledging that I'm human, I have feelings, and I need to create time and space for myself in order to move through the things that I need to move through. And that's okay. That is self-love. Making space for ourselves. I think that's what I said at the beginning of the video, right? I talked about making space for ourselves. And I feel like this reading could also very much speak to that. So let's pull a message from the Moon deck. And let's see what it has to say. So I live each moment with a presence of gratitude, which is super funny to me. Like, not funny haha, but funny as in very appropriate. I struggle with living in the moment. I talk about it a lot in videos. I talk about it a lot with members, and it's because that is a part of my life that has been a struggle for me, is living in the moment, is allowing myself to kind of just let go of all the plans and the processes and everything else and just be right here, right now. I talk about it a lot because it's a challenge for me, because I'm not the type of person who wants to naturally live in the moment. I want to be working on something. I want to be planning the next thing. I want to be moving to the next adventure, the next mission, the next whatever it is that I've got going on in my life. So I use tarot a lot to help me work through this practice of being in the moment, because when I'm working with the cards, I am here in this moment. I may be thinking about how these cards really apply to different areas of my life, or, you know, what message it might have for me about this, that, or the other, but I'm also very much in the moment. When I'm shuffling, I'm in the moment. And I've talked about that many times. I've talked about how I do mindfulness pulls where I just stop in the middle of my day and I grab a deck and I shuffle my cards and I pull a message for that moment, because this is something that I personally struggle with. I'm always looking at the next thing, always making the next plan, creating the next to-do list. And so being in the moment and just having some gratitude about what I've got going on right here, right now, is something that I'm constantly working on. So I love that this card has come up, because it's also kind of giving me permission to make space, right? To just say, I can stop for 5 minutes and I can express a little bit of self-love and a little bit of gratitude. So I love that. I think this is a beautiful message, and it's definitely something that I'm going to hopefully take with me throughout the whole of the day. And just to remember that, like, at this time when, you know, we talk about you know, how much we love everybody else, like, it's important to remember, like, we need to love ourselves too. And that's a constant struggle for me, something I'm always working toward, something I'm always trying to reconcile in my own life, and, you know, trying to change the language with which I speak to myself and how I feel about myself and how I perceive myself and all of those types of things. So I'm just gonna leave this reading out right here all day long. And this is going to be the only reading that I'm going to interact with today. It's going to be the only message that I'm going to tap into today. So I just wanted to kind of have that moment together, and I hope that you enjoyed walking through my reading. If something resonated for you, that's fantastic. I definitely encourage you to take that. But I also encourage you to do your own self-love reading. Take a moment for yourself today. Express a little bit of gratitude for who you are, what you've accomplished in your life, and what a wonderful freaking person you are. Because, you know, we're complicated and we're messy and all the things that humans are. But we're also pretty amazing, and we have especially amazing people in this community. So take a moment, tell everybody else how much you love them too. That's fantastic, but don't forget to tell yourself. That's my Valentine's wish for you.